and colleague Juan Luis de Pablo Enriquez Roden. Did I get that right?
Thank you, you got it right.
So Juan Luis and I have been friends for over 10 years now. We're both members of an organization called the Composers Alliance of San Antonio. That's how we got to meet. Juan Luis is also a Trinity alumnus. Can I ask what year you graduated?
97.
So Juan Luis studied with Dr. Heller, and he studied with Dr. True for piano, and studied with Dr. Purslin, of course. And so many of these heavy hitters from the faculty that we still know. And so Juan Luis also studied composition with my predecessor, Dr. Tim Kramer. So I took over for him when he left to go to Illinois. Anyway, Juan Luis is a composer, but more than that, he has interests in astronomy and archaeology, and he has developed quite an original theory that he's going to tell you all about today. So, Juan Luis.
Thank you very much. Thank you for being here. So I'll just put some slides and tell you a little bit about my work. Right when I graduated, I started working with intervals. And I thought that was an interesting thing. I went to, after graduating from Trinity, I went to Mexico Conservatory of Music, and we studied the music of Franco Donatoni, and he's a big serialist composer. So we started doing this work, and I was kind of interested in knowing how intervals could be placed from the shortest one to the biggest one. But this is just a little slide, so how to tell you about what happened during that time. Now, during that time I read this book, which is The Republic by Plato, and on the 10th book, which is the last book, he speaks about something that really struck me and left me in awe, which is something that is called the music of the spheres. You might know about what the term is, but I'll tell you if you don't know. So then there's this spindle of necessity, that's what Plato is calling. And this is a conversation between Plato and Socrates. And so I'm going to read something about this, some of this. It says, the nature of the world is as follows. In appearance, it is like the worlds we have here, but from what he said, we have to think of it like this. Imagine a single large world which has been completely hollowed out with a chisel and a second smaller world inside it, fitting exactly into it, like those pots that fit inside one another. Similarly, a third, fourth, and then four more, making a total of 8 worlds in all inside another. The rings show as so many circles from above and from a single world around the shaft with a continuous surface. The shaft is driven right through the middle of the 8th world. Well, so he's talking about the rims, right? But then as he goes on, he tells that he's telling the order of the rims. The rim of the 6th comes second, the 4th rim comes third, the 8th rim comes fourth, the 7th rim comes fifth, the 5th rim, and so it's etc. So as you can see, it's something like this, and with orbits, and each orbit. You can read the text. Actually, I'm going to leave these files for you so that you can read them. But so what he's telling is the story of a man that in battle he dies in battle. His name is Er, and this guy Er comes from the dead, and he tells the people what he saw on the other side. And what he saw is planets revolutioning around this spindle of necessities. So it turns out that on each one of the planets there is a sound, a note, a particular note, a siren that is singing a particular note. And out of all those notes, we get what we call the harmony of the spheres. But he presents this, and I don't really want to take too much time on this, but he presents this as a riddle. This is this produce one single harmony, which is the harmony of the spheres. And then there are three women, Lachesis, Cloto, and Anthropos. And these women are at equal distances, and they are spinning this thing, and they are at equal distances. And so these are Cloto, and then Lachesis, and Anthropos. So many of you have seen pictures of these ladies. One of them is threading the thread of life, the other one is measuring it, and the other one is cutting it. So this obviously relates to what is the present, and then this is the past, and this is the future. So when I read this, I really wanted to get the riddle, and so it says, maybe after it says, well, I'll leave this for you to read. But basically what it says, and I haven't read it in English, so I don't know what I'm really reading over there, but what it says is that the seventh planet is faster than the sixth, and the sixth is first in place than the second one, and the second one comes after the eighth, and so he's revolving all these things, and it's a riddle, actually. So what happened is that I decided to solve this puzzle, and this is the one of my tries, not the first one, but one of my tries. And so one characteristic that I saw here, thank you, Brian. Yeah, thank you. How do I do that, by the way? Oh, okay, great. So one interesting thing that happened here is that I started to see that numbers were, first of all, I started to see that none of this works with astronomy in the right way. So it's like, no, I mean, no. The center of the universe is not the Earth, the center of the solar system is not Mars, and so the Earth doesn't come first from the sun, and so on. But I did notice something interesting, and that was that number 8 and 7 were very close together most of the time. And particularly interesting was that sometimes 7, like on the green one, 7 and 6 and 8 were together, these ones. And 7 and 8 were together almost all of the time. So that really made me think that maybe what Socrates was saying was not necessarily the answer to the riddle, but that he was pointing out to something that might be a clue to finishing the riddle. So what I did is I started to imagine that the intervals, oh, thank you, Ryan, once more. Sorry.
I can just hang out here if you want.
So that the intervals, now these were related to the position of the planets. So, and if you can see, I start with G, and then I go up through the piano, like, and so on. So what I'm doing is I'm going from the augmented first, and then the minor second, major second, minor third, major third, and so on, until I get to the octave up there. And then I just have to come back, so because this is the instead of having the interval going up, I just invert the interval. And so I found that these two rows, one going to the right and one going to the left. So that was obviously that was following a correspondence that we usually follow. For example, Anatole Locan does this, Milton Babbitt does this. You probably have done work, the senior composition majors have done work with Arnold Schoenberg's matrices and series. So you obviously know that C is 0, C sharp is 1, and so on. No? So this is like what we do in music. That's how we pair the notes with numbers. So what happened was that I started to develop matrices so that I could compose. This is an interesting matrix that I did for a trombone and percussion piece that I will show you in a moment. And I just started traveling from the center to the, so I did the spiraling here. But anyway, this is just so that you can see what kind of work I was doing. And if you can see, E is 11, and then 0 would be 12, but I'm not using the number 12, and I had a trouble with one-digit numbers. So what I did change a little my musical correspondences. And so I said, okay, so now C is going to be 12, but 0 is going to be silence. So that's the only change that I did with the regular correspondence. So this is what it turned out. I don't know what happened here. Let me get into this. Okay, thank you. So this is what the row looks like with all the numbers going from towards the left and towards the right. Okay, so, and one thing that I noticed is that in all these numbers, you cannot see the number 4, you cannot see the number 1, and you cannot see the number 10. So that was like, at first, that was very interesting because that was working with what Plato was saying about the music of the spheres. So, escape maybe? So, these are the three notes that are not present. So it's B flat, D flat, and F flat, which is E, obviously. But so those are the three notes that are not present. So I did then started to, what was that? Shift L?
Control L.
Control L.
You have to get past the minute marker. Control L. There you go.
Yeah. Okay. So then, as you can see, this is the elements of the solar system. We have the sun, the comets, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Moon, Mars, asteroids, Jupiter, interior comets, moons, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, what it was at the time in 2001, Pluto, or the minor planets, planetoids, and then the exterior comets, and then going to the first stars. Now, one thing that it was very interesting here is that the note F always falls on the rocks, like on the minor planetoids and on the asteroids, and F sharp was on the moon. But one interesting thing is that the exterior comets also fall in A flat and G sharp and G sharp. So that was very interesting when I found about that. And so I I positioned the moiras, or the parts, what Plato mentions, the part of the past E flat, and then the future E natural, and then the present C sharp. So they are at equal distances here, and this is what some of the things that I started discovering. This is a long time ago. This is 2001, and this is my first piece that I did with Casa Composers Alliance of San Antonio. I premiered this piano piece that is called the Beirut, and as you can see now, I have only the solar system and the orbits of, like, the moon around the Earth, or the planetoids around moons of Mars, and then the comets and the moons around Jupiter, and so on. So it started to make a lot of sense. Intervallic-wise, it was possible to understand the solar system according to the intervals, to the music intervals. So then, of course, I had to complete the system, and then I had to study about the spectral classes of stars. So what I have now is all the elements of the solar system, but then I have to start completing the row, and it turned out that I could complete all the intervals with the 7 spectral classes of stars. The interstellar comets, again falling on the number 8. These are Olmec numbers, or Mayan numbers, so 1 dot is equals to 1, and 1 bar equals to 5. So this would be the number 6, for example. Right? And this would be the number 10, 1, and 4. So, and also the vagabond planets, which are material of interstellar material that does not have a star. So this would be like the exoplanets, for example. So all the system is there, and then I did the correspondence, astronomical correspondences. So with both rows, so the one that goes down, 7, 6, 5, 3, etc., and then the one that goes up to the right of the piano. So you would have the names of the musical notes, and then the numbers, and then the planet or the star where they relate. Now this is interesting because when you add all those numbers, we might not have the time to, or does anybody have a calculator here? Probably, right? Anybody would like to add all those numbers?
Sure.
So I'm going to dictate them to you, okay? Is that fine?
Yes.
Okay, so 7 plus 6 plus 5 plus 3 plus 12 plus 8 plus 3 plus 9 plus 2 plus 6 plus 9 plus 11 plus 12 plus 12 plus 11 plus 9 plus 6 plus 2 plus 9 plus 3 plus 8 plus 12 plus 3 plus 5 plus 6 plus 7 plus 8 plus 9 plus 11 plus 2 plus 6 plus 11 plus 5 plus 12 plus 8 plus 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 2 plus 3 plus 5 plus 8 plus 12 plus 5 plus 11 plus 6 plus 2 plus 11 plus 9 plus 8. What do you get?
350.
350.
Did I do it wrong?
That's right. Plus 1. Plus 1. Plus 10. Plus 4.
365.
365. Exactly.
Ah.
So that was in 2001 when I said, bingo, I have it. I don't know where this is going to take me, and in the first years of developing this, I did not know, and I didn't care, because what I do care is about what kind of music I can make with this. So I really did not know what was going to happen. So, but it turned out that it was kind of like a musical calendar. And so I get to the point where I develop this kind of image, where now you would wonder why 2 12s and why 2 2s, and that the reason for that is that the planet Uranus is tilted almost at 90 degrees of angle, so it's almost like 2 planets. It rotates, and as it goes rotating, the first thing that points in its direction is a group of 13 rings going in front of it. So I said, that has to be the octave. So that's why it has 2 octaves. Then, in 2004, I went to visit Yucatan Peninsula, and this is the Temple of the Sun. And all of a sudden, I started to see my numbers on the temples, on the apertures of the temples. So that was incredible, because this is the Temple of the Sun, and it has 7 apertures. But it also has 7 apertures on the other side of the building. So, and as I turned to the other building, it had 11 apertures, and it had 2 apertures, and it had another 11 apertures and 9 apertures. So I started to see my numbers in the pyramids, and so that was incredible, because then I said, these places are designed according to the elements of the solar system and the 7 spectral classes of stars. So I decided, after I graduated from my master's degree at the University of Houston, I decided I wanted to pursue my doctoral, by the way, and I got invited to Juilliard School of Music to pursue my doctoral. But when, of course, I had interviewed with the composers, but one guy in particularly, this is Milton Babbitt, and I showed him my music and I showed him my theory, and he told me, what are you doing here? I mean, this is crazy. Why do you want to pursue a doctoral degree here? And he said, just go and develop this. They are going to tear it apart here. Nobody's going to care about what you're doing here. And so I decided to go to the Yucatan Peninsula and live there for 10 years. So I visited so many ruins. This is Ekbalan ruins. And so I finally found, in all the ruins that I went to, I found my numbers, like the Temple of the Sun, the comets that were kind of like a barrier, like a big wall in Ekbalan, the number 11 on Venus or Kukulkan Temple, and then the number 2 for the Earth. 11, this is the football court, and then until I reached the big temple, which is number 12, which was dedicated to the stars. So I started to see a really strong correspondence between the places, the pyramids and the numbers. And of course, the deities, apparent deities that were that the buildings were dedicated to. So this is in Xochicalco. This is now. I said if we are going to find those correspondences in Mayan temples, then at the center of Mexico we should probably find those correspondences, and that's what happened. I did visit several other archaeological sites in the center of Mexico and realized that the Mexicas and the Tlahuicas and many other cultures were using the same system. For example, one particular interesting thing is that the temple of the earth is tilted 23 degrees different from the rest of the temples, and the earth is tilted 23 degrees from the axis of the solar system. So I've been finding some interesting correspondences. So I said, well, I love this stone ever since I was a little kid going to the National Museum of Archaeology in Mexico City, and I said, I need to find what correspondences are here. And I did find some really interesting elements. First, that these Xiuhcoatls are the calendars of the sun, both synodal and the regular civil calendar. Then you have the solar flares are here. Then you have this thing. This is represented as movement. So Mercury moves from the horizon 3 times. 3 times it appears from the horizon. Then you have Venus, and Venus sometimes is in the morning as a morning star, and then sometimes is at the evening star. Then if you count all these little dots, you will get 365 dots. So that would be the Earth. And then this is regarded as the moon calendar. All the archaeologists have understood this as the moon calendar. So that was the moon. And then so we get out of our orbit, we have the rest of the planets. So it's Mars, asteroids, Jupiter, which is the mass of the wind, and Jupiter has the most massive winds in the solar system. Then you have the comets, the interior comets, then you have Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and then the exterior comets. And then this is very interesting because I've seen that at the National Museum of Astronomy in New York, and they have this stone of the Aztec calendar, and I believe that's where they got some of the scientists their idea that there could be a new planet. But these are the stars, actually. And then man, which understands all the rest of the stars. Now, one thing interesting here, and I cannot speak too much about this because this would take a really detailed lecture, but I want to speak about this a little bit. So this is a big movement, and this is another sign of movement. So what this says is, as the movement of the rain, or of the phenomenon of the rain, which is water that evaporates, and then water that comes down, this big movement moves like the 2 chimpanzees or monkeys. So this is one monkey, and this is another monkey. And it moves 5 times, more than 5, because through the horizon, and that's describing the planet Uranus. So the interesting thing about this is that I found also through mathematical signs that are here. For example, this is subtraction, this is multiplication, and this, bless you,
Thank you.
and this is division. I managed to find the right numbers for the years it takes around the sun for many of the elements of the solar system. Now, as you can see, these are the Pleiades, and they are almost similar to the movement, but they are not, and that's because the Pleiades are on top of the Earth, so they never set and they never go down the horizon. So it's almost like a movement, but it's not a movement. So I have a really detailed writing about this on the internet at my archive.com. I will tell you the address later on if you want to read it. It's in English and it explains to detail all of these things. So anyway, that's just something that I like about multidiscipline. So then I realized that there are 13 skies and 9 levels of the underworld. And so most of the time archaeologists are thinking about gods. And I have to say that they are not gods, but they are elements of the cosmos. So basically what's happening is that it's not necessarily a religious civilization, but rather a scientific civilization. Anyway, I'm speeding up a little bit because I don't want to bore you with this. But so this thing now comes from this is our cervical column, and so as you can see, we are born with 33 bones, but through the years, the sacrococcys, the 7 bones of the sacrococcys become one bone, and so we have 7 cervical bones, 12 thoracic, 5 lumbar, and 2 sacrococcys, so that makes 7. So 7, 12, and 7, which is related also to the points that we have on the system. So this is almost to say that we are made in the image of the cosmos. So now this is something much interesting because we have only 4 how do you call these things in English? 4 elements of the DNA, adenosine, cytosine, thymine, and guanine. So there are only 4. There's 1 sugar phosphate backbone. So there's 1 string, and every 10 pairs, we get a twist. So, and those are the numbers 1, 10, and 4. So that's also very interesting because the DNA has a very strong correspondence with time. It develops through time or it degenerates through time, and it's interesting that those numbers appear on its components. Anyway, so what this is just coincidences, really. So coincidences that also the DNA can be in mirror, and my work can also be as a mirror. And the DNA can be rotated as well as the work that I've developed can be also rotated. So those are some coincidences that have appeared. So this is the new system. This is 2024, and as you can see, we have the notes, the musical notes. Then we have the elements of the cosmos, and then we have the numbers. I kept the Mayan Olympic numbers here, and now I have the B flat of the past going in that direction, the present, and then the future going into the opposite direction. So with all this, I have made music, and so I had to create new digits because I needed 1 digit. Yeah, I needed only, instead of numbers with 2 digits, I had to make numbers with only 1 digit. So this is 10, so it's like a T and an N, and also in Spanish is diez. This is 11, which is pretty much kind of like what we use in the electrophonic planet Jupiter, 13 or 13, and 14, 14. So those are the new numbers that I use in my theory. So we can get matrices like this one, for example. So this is a matrix that I use for composition as well. So we have the elements of the solar system and the 7 spectral classes of stars. It's almost like a mantle. So, so this now, Roger Penrose he's a Nobel Prize in mathematics, and he took classes with one very interesting physicist, and they started thinking about a lot about conscience. So here is the time since the row is 365. So I started imagining that the time this could go to the Pleiades, because every almost 26,000 years the Earth rotates from the Pleiades to the Draco star. So we can pinpoint the present time in exact points between 26,000 years. And so the future goes into one direction and the past goes into the other direction. These are the rays of the Earth, of the Sun, I'm sorry, in the Earth, and which also in the stone of the Aztec calendar, they clearly represent that the fire or the heat of the sun comes in one side of the Earth and the other comes on the other side of the Earth. So that means that they knew that the Earth was round. Anyway, so this work spins around the Earth in the form of a cross. So I forgot to bring my theory in the 3D. I had it, but I missed it at the hotel this time. But for other occasion, I will bring you this, which is the sunlit on one side and then the dark side of the Earth on the other one. And so how the future moves into that direction and the past goes into the opposite direction, while the present is going towards the Pleiades or the Draco star. So anyway, this is a paper that has new coincidences, but some things that are really interesting with sound. For example, the recording of the comet 67P. And when you listen to this recording, actually, I have some homework for you guys. This is going to be for you. So when you click on this link, you'll hear the recording of the Rosetta spacecraft. And I want you to tell me, once we exchange emails, if you can really hear or you cannot hear the row of the musical tones in that recording. So there's also recordings of the sequence of the sun that go like this, with D, 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 C, D, D, C, which is 7 tones, and it repeats 7 tones, and the sun is number 7. And then there's also a sequence, and also based on the number 14, because the whole theory is based on the number 14, which is something that I forgot to tell you, but I'll tell you in a moment again. So this is now Saturn. Saturn is number 3, and it has 3 distinct instances in the recording. And so equals 3. And then there's the recording of Jupiter, and this recording of Jupiter, you can hear these frequencies F, E, D, C sharp, and D. And when you add all those numbers, equals to the number 12, which is the number assigned to Jupiter. So there are really interesting coincidences. I don't know where this work is going to take me. But the interesting thing is that these sounds, so this is the score, but how can I now, Brian, how can I put the audio into the score? Or first the audio, right?
Yeah, so now.
First the audio. Okay, hold on. So, and then now I need the score, right? So, shall I do it like this? And then move this like that, maybe? Okay. So we have this first. Right? Oh, God. Oh my goodness.
Start that part
Yeah.
again. So, here, is this what you want to?
To the score, like down, a little more down. Yes, that's it. That's it.
So what we'll do is I will start this and then control L on this and you can use the arrow down.
Mm,
like
okay.
that. Okay. So,
Can we get this little screen out of the way?
oh, I'll make this.
Oh, yeah.
Like this.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Yeah. Thank you.
Come back here.
Thank you, Brian.
Here we go.
No. It didn't come. Maybe, oops, maybe it's just one track and I forgot to go with the second track. It was just one track. Well,
We had a trombone player.
Oh! Who is the trombone player? Oh, wonderful! So you're gonna love this. Yeah, this is for you. So it has a relaxed tempo. I'm sorry I didn't bring the rest. I thought it was the complete, but it's just one movement. But then it comes back and anyway, I want to jump to the next one because I don't really know how much time we have, but I really want you to hear this one because this is a piece that is performed by the San Antonio Choir. And so the same thing happens here, Brian. How can I do this big
Line score. talk about here before we get to the score?
Yeah, well, I'll just, maybe just go to the score, yeah. This is a piece for choir, piano and double bass, and also gran casa, like a big drum. And so, as you can see here, I have my numbers, like G7, so it lasts for 7 quarters. Then I'm going down on the intervallic sequence. Now I have G flat, which is 6, and it only lasts for 6 quarters, and so on. So for example, on the top here you have number 2, which only lasts 2 quarters, and then you have 3, only lasts 3 quarters, and so on. So all of the notes of the rows, and if you remember the circle, so I'm parting from the south, and then I'm parting from the north, and then from the east, and from the west. So these are all the rows, and the piece is presented in 2 structural chunks. One is completely serial with my theory, and then the other one is the whirls of the mind. So it was something that I really like to do, contrast my work, my serialistic work with the tonal work. So now we're ready. Yeah. Thank you. so on the last part, for example, here, you can see the 14s. Actually, how do I do this bigger? Like this? No.
I think we just have to push escape.
Oh, maybe,
Yeah,
escape.
okay.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Brian. So this, you can see the 14s, F sharp and G sharp is 14, B flat and E is 14, D and C is 14, and so on.